Wait, let me fix my hair first. All right, I'm done.
Yeah, put on your hair.
I'm not putting on my hair.
How's that? My hair is having a bad hair day. I, unlike Victor and Tony, always have good hair days.
All
Oh
right,
no, sir.
hey, smack 'em a god. It's almost human live. Yes, last week we were not here because a friend of mine, good friend of mine, formed a new band. And they were playing their first gig. I had to go support my friend's band. That's why I had to cancel last week. Not every week we're going to be on. There's going to be times. I mean, it's really up to me. If I can't make it, there's no show. But
Well, we probably won't be on next week either. It's Thanksgiving.
well, here's the thing about next week, Thanksgiving.
What?
I'm having Thanksgiving dinner early with my family at 2 in the afternoon.
Oh.
So is Tony. Now, if you're having dinner early in the afternoon, come join me and Tony. Because me and Tony are going to do the fucking Thanksgiving episode, man.
All right, cool.
Well, I
turkey
may be
edition.
hammered. I may be hammered by then, Ralph. So I don't know if I will do the show hammered. But
Okay. Well,
That would be hilarious.
Yeah. Cheers to that.
Maybe I'd be able to tolerate you.
you know that really hurts, Wade. That really hurts, Wade.
I'm joking.
All those years of friendship, just like that.
Years.
Hey, everybody! Look! This is my impression of Rick Allen.
Oh,
Hey, look, I'm the drummer of Def Leppard, and I can beat my wife with this hand.
How did he do that? Like, stand still.
I don't know how. You know,
Stood on.
Ian said that he like moved the stub and gave her a rope a dope while she was looking at his stub. He punched her with the other arm. That's what Ian told me.
Wow. No.
But anyway, look, we're going to talk about Motorhead. But before we go into Motorhead, Manny, you started talking about something, and I cut you off. And look, let's talk about this on the show. What were you?
All right.
What were you bringing up?
So, Ralph, I think it was on your Almost Human news that you do. So I saw Sammy Hagar, Joe Satriani, Michael Anthony, and was that Jason Bonham, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So basically Chickenfoot with another drummer are touring doing a tribute to Van Halen. But if I heard you correctly, because I was watching, I was working, they're doing David Lee Roth era songs. Now,
well, they are, but when they play the David Lee Roth era songs, they have Michael Anthony sing them. And look, Michael Anthony's part of the greatest harmony ever, but I don't like his voice alone. I just don't. There's footage of him doing "Somebody Get Me a Doctor" and "Bottoms Up" on YouTube. I don't like it. I personally don't like it. And did you guys see Joe Satriani on Howard Stern playing those Van Halen songs?
Mm-hmm.
It was embarrassing.
Yeah, I don't think he's warmed up enough or something. I saw your comments, and I know you're not a Joe Satriani fan, Ralph. I am, but it didn't sound right to me. You know.
No, he can play it well, and you know, it was summer nights in the beginning of Mean Street. I was like, look, I know the guy's technically great, but I've seen G3 many times, and he's always a headliner, and he always bored me, you know. And but I stayed and watched him because at the end of the show, all the other guitar players would come out and own him. So that's the only reason I would stick around. But I'm not a Joe Satriani guy. I've never been. But you know what, man? If you're gonna play shitty Vangina songs, Joe Satriani's a perfect guitar player for you.
Well, the thing about this tribute to Van Halen, when the when the Sammy Hagar era Van Halen 85 to 91 or 2, whatever the hell it was, if I remember correctly, they would do Jump, Ain't Talking About Love, and Hagar refused to sing the other songs. I guess maybe he's not, from what you're telling me. So why the change of heart suddenly?
Well, it's not all Vangina. It's going to be like 4 or 5 his soul songs. It's going to be no different than what he's been doing all these years. The only difference is they're going to throw a little more deeper cuts, like 5150, you know, songs that they didn't play live in their previous set. And they're going to do that now. The only difference is Joe Satriani. They got rid of that Vic guy, and Brian Joe Satriani, which is basically Chickenfoot without the drummer.
Yeah, without
And the
I
opening,
don't know.
honestly, Vic
I'm personally
plays
not
his
going to go
Van
see
Halen
it.
stuff well.
yeah, he does.
He's
And
does a very good job playing.
I like him. I like him more than Joe Satriani. And the opening night is down here.
Well, Ralph, I'm not going to go see that tour, and
I'm not gonna see it, but I might go see Loverboy open the show and then leave after 3 or 4 songs because Wayne is gonna buy me a ticket.
Oh, it's on the way right now.
Yeah. So I'll go see Loverboy, but I will have to leave after Loverboy in fear of me jumping on stage and beating the living crap out of Sammy Hagar. Then I go to jail, and I don't want to go to jail. So I'm leaving right after Loverboy. And thank you, Wayne.
Could you imagine all the pictures people if they saw you there taking pictures of you? Look, Ralph's at a Sammy Hagar show. He's
oh,
live.
that would ruin your rep, right?
Yeah, my reputation will be ruined. It's like I know this. I'm not going to give away the guy's name, but I know this guy that hates Scab Kiss, and he's known for it. Like he's known on internet land as the Scab Kiss hater. And he told me in private, I really love Monster, but I can't say anything. It'll ruin my rep. You know what I mean? Which is funny.
It is pretty funny.
But anyway, guys, I want to thank you, as always, for joining me Thursday on the Almost Human Live Kick-Ass podcast. And we're going to talk about Motorhead this week. And I got a very, very extremely interesting story of how I discovered Motorhead, which I have told before, but I'll say it again. I discovered them in 1980, 81 with a show that happened down here. It was Heart, Bliss the Cult, Firefall, and Motorhead opened the show. Actually,
what? That's the
crazy.
lineup?
yeah, well, actually, after Motorhead opened, and then the next act was a radio contest where 5 guys went up on stage and did air band, like an air band. They won an air band contest at some bar, so they got to play after Motorhead. Well, anyway, the week of that show, they were giving a commercial for Ace of Spades. I never heard of Motorhead in my life, and they gave this little snippet of the song Ace of Spades. And I'm like, holy shit, we got to get there early. I want to see this band, And the only thing I remember it well. They played, it was kick-ass. I didn't know none of the song, but it was awesome. It was heavy. And the one thing I remember vividly about that show was it was at the baseball stadium. Everybody was sitting down during Motorhead, except for 2 dudes that had their shirts off and going nuts, and they were from England. Because Motorhead was huge in England.
Yeah.
And these 2 dudes knew their Motorhead, And I got to talking to them afterwards. So then after that, I couldn't find a Motorhead for the life of me. Till I don't know, 8 months later, I found No Sleep Till Hammersmith, which to this day is still my favorite Motorhead album. That album made me a mega fan because then I got Overkill, Bomber, the first album. And ever since Iron Fist, every single Motorhead album I bought when it was brand new. Fanatical. I am a fanatical fan of Motorhead, and I own every single album, like Tony, I'm sure does. And boy,
Of course, Tony
there's
does.
a whole lot of those albums, aren't there?
There is.
I'm
And-
missing one called Bastard. I've never owned that on
Oh,
vinyl
that
or
was
CD.
awesome. That's
Hey,
awesome.
Great album.
Ralph, I got a question for you since you got in early. I discovered with No Sleep Till Hammersmith because a kid in middle school sold me the album, probably was his dad's. But were those first few albums released in the States at all? Like Motorhead and Ace of Spades and what was the third one? Was that Bomber?
Bomber. I'm pretty sure they were. I'm not 100% sure. I know Ace of Spades must have been because
Yeah, I think Ace of Spades was, and I think maybe the first, well, not the first 2, but Overkill and Bomber may have got a U.S. release after Ace of Spades got some traction.
Yeah, I just wondered if those albums had ever been released in this. I mean, obviously, by the time I got into Motorhead, that would have been 83. those albums were easy to find. Matter of fact, Ralph, I don't know if you have it or Tony. Do you guys remember that No Remorse, the vinyl version, came in a leather? Did you guys ever get that one? You or of course Tony has it. Of course Tony has it.
Yeah, of course he has it.
I own No Remorse on vinyl, but it's not the leather version. I've never owned that leather version.
I'm glad I have the one I have, because they are super expensive to find now.
Oh,
I have a leather version, but it's the CD version, and it's from 2005.
That's
the first album that got Cleopatra reissued,
whoops.
and it's got a leather case on it. It's pretty cool.
Grabbed the wrong one.
But you know,
this is Roadrunner Revisited. My vinyl, I think, is bronze.
yeah, bronze was the original label, and then
okay.
Roadrunner picked it up and did a reissue of it. When it originally came out, it was on vinyl with the leather cover, and you could also get it on cassette. And the cassette had a leather pouch that it slid down into a little snap.
Wow.
I would love to find one of those. They're pretty expensive. Those, I think, are more harder to find than the vinyl, intact. I mean, a lot of times when you find the ones on vinyl, the leather has split and at the seam and stuff.
Yeah.
So the little tape cartridge is really hard to find one intact.
Tony, do you own the CD box set of Meltdown?
No, I think only Motorhead box sets I have. I have one with all the singles in it. And then I have one that Sanctuary put out. I think it was Death Forever, the one that came out in the early 2000s.
With the green cover?
I have this one called Meltdown. I also have a CD called From the Vaults.
Mm-hmm.
It's like Under the Blade, Under the Knife. And
yeah, they've reissued a lot of that stuff under various titles, because Motorhead, unfortunately, was another one of those bands that kind of got really screwed by record labels, especially when they were with like GWR and they were on, their Rock and Roll and Orgasmatron was distributed over here in the States by Profile Records, and which was predominantly, I think, a hip hop label or rap label or something. But yeah, it was, they had so much stuff that's been out and repackaged, especially that early stuff. The first album, Motorhead, was on that Chilswick label, and then you see various versions of that all out, the songs repackaged with different titles. I remember seeing Lemmy talking about it in an interview once about how much they had been ripped off and pretty much so many versions of albums that were out that they never see any royalties from.
Yeah,
well, wasn't that why there was a slew of live albums too in the 80s? What's Wordsworth or whatever it's called.
That one's been repackaged. I don't know how many times as with different covers and different song titles and stuff, or different running orders.
Yeah, for many years, I would buy all the Motorhead live album, Live at Brixton, and all these, record labels put out, and then I just gave up because it became too much. That's it. I'm just buying studio albums from here on out,
And now they're releasing all this new stuff that was recorded on the last couple of tours, and Lemmy, bless his heart, I mean, he was out there doing it till the end, but those last few years, the live shows really suffered. I mean, he was out there trying to give it his best, but if I was in his position and I had passed on, I wouldn't want those last recordings of my work being put out like that.
Yeah.
But the record company or whoever the management is just milking it,
Yeah. They should release stuff from like the Sacrifice tour.
Oh yeah.
That, when he was on.
Yeah, for sure. And they've got those in the vault as well.
Oh, they got tons of stuff,
Once a band ends or once somebody dies, they find everything they can to put out. It seems like it's, unless you're Ozzy Osbourne and it's Randy Rhoads.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's, isn't that Randy Rhoads' estate can block that though? I don't know.
Probably so, but I would think that his estate is more the fans to hear it.
But Randy Rhoads' estate has.
They just did a podcast.
Quiet Riot albums. They
just did a podcast about it.
Decades.
Ozzy and Sharon, Manny.
Yeah, that was just Ozzy was saying that those Bob Daisley owns, what we're talking about, Bob Daisley owns some holy grail tapes of rehearsals of the original Blizzard of Oz band rehearsing.
Yeah, 8 hours of it.
He would like to put it out someday, of course, but Ozzy said in an interview recently that it sounds like crap. And Bob is like, how does he know what it sounds like? He's never heard it.
It sounds great because Bob Daisley put little clips up on it.
Snippets up, sure.
And it sounds, it was recorded on a boombox, but still the quality is awesome.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but what you can do with technology, what the Beatles just did, for example, the Jimi Hendrix Estate just released another live album that they wouldn't have been able to release even 5 years ago. By cleaning up the tapes, doors. We could go on. There's a bunch of archive releases that would have never seen the light of day if technology wasn't able to clean it up. So even if it sounds like shit, don't you think modern technology would make it sound releasable?
They could, but if that road stuff ever was to come out, I want to hear it just like it is. I want to hear it raw. I don't want to hear someone go in there and doctor it up and do overdubs to make it sound better.
I don't think they didn't do overdubs on the Hendrix and Doors stuff, but they've definitely. I don't think it would have. I see where you're coming from. I don't think it's as pure as if it would have been like 10 years ago, where they didn't have the option to, because what they've done is, if a vocal's missing, they'll grab it from a bootleg recording and then using AI and Pro Tools, is how they fix like the Doors recordings, for example. I just know a lot about the Doors. That's the only reason I know. But anyway, I didn't mean to interrupt and take you off off the rails here.
Well, you didn't. You fucked up the whole entire show. So no more talking.
Listen, Wade, you fuck up every show you're on, but I love you anyway.
I want to say one more thing about the Ozzy thing. And I just heard this like an hour ago. Jack Osbourne was interviewed on some Ozzy. It was an Ozzy podcast, and these two Ozzy dorks have an Ozzy podcast. They're like, "Oh my God, we got Jack Osbourne." It was a cute little interview, but they brought up the Bob Daisley shit, and he was saying stuff like, "You know what, man? I think it should be up to the Rhodes family if it gets released." And then he brought up that Jack Osbourne has heard an amazing live album from the Diary of a Madman tour that was supposed to be released, and he couldn't remember exactly why it wasn't released. So he got on his phone and he texted, I guess, Sharon, to find out what was stopping the live album. And that person never got back to him. So the whole podcast, we didn't find out. But there is a live Diary of a Madman show that was supposed to be released, but for some reason it wasn't. And another rumor I heard, where I know, Tony, you're very well aware of Largo, all those bootleg shows.
Yeah.
Largo Arena, which is basically a screen that they would film shows, and then the bands would ask for that tape. Supposedly, there's a Diary of a Madman show that was filmed at that place, and that Sharon Osbourne owns. That's the rumor I heard. So there's a pro shot Diary of a Madman show out there.
The live album you were mentioning, I wonder if it's much different than the one that came out on the deluxe edition of Diary.
No, because that was the Blizzard of Oz tour.
So it still was Blizzard of Oz when that was recorded.
Yeah.
Where was that one recorded? Because I have the deluxe edition of that. It doesn't tell me where it was recorded from what I remember. Do you guys know?
No, I don't know. I know I bought that vinyl when it was brand new because I knew
it could be pieced together from several shows, possibly.
Yeah,
that's what I'm thinking, but I don't know.
That vinyl is so expensive now. I bought it brand new.
Yeah, I found it a couple years ago, and it was pretty pricey. I talked the guy down on it.
I've seen it for 100.
Hey, I love Tribute. I like that one even more. I thought Ozzy Live was more raw and more kick-ass. I just loved it. But that's enough of the Ozzy talk. We're going to go to Victor now. And Victor, tell us how you got into Motorhead.
Oh my God. I honestly don't know. I can't remember. It was so long ago. I was a kid. I think I saw them on, I have this vague, very vague memory of seeing them on television, and I don't know what it was. I have no idea. It was late at night, and I heard it and I'm like, what the hell is this? like, this is amazing. This is so cool, so badass, so raw, so heavy. I have to know what this is. And then the next memory I remember of kind of getting, like, I'd heard them. Obviously, Ace of Spades had hit the radio. I knew what that was. Kind of the ubiquitous Motorhead song. But I remember I was a teenager, and I was at the library, and they had vinyl there, and they had Iron Fist. And so I checked that out, and I was like, holy shit, this is cool. So that was what, 83-ish, I think, when Iron Fist came out, somewhere around there. So yeah,
you had a cool library.
yeah, oh yeah, it was amazing.
No
Like, I don't know who their buyer was. It must have been some young guy, because they had all sorts of crazy stuff.
We only had Pat Boone records at mine.
Yeah, we had, that's where I discovered all sorts of metal. It was crazy. Like,
that's a great freaking library, dude.
Yeah.
I had Jesus Christ Superstar was about as metal as it got, dude. My library.
But yeah, like, I think that was, like, Iron Fist, like, that one really hit me, and because I loved the cover, and I was just like, whoa, what is this? I'm into this. This is cool. So that would have been like when I really got into them. But I do remember as a kid, so I must have been, what, 10-ish when I saw them on television. I just have no idea what that was. I don't remember what it was. Just
the young ones. Victor, was it the young ones?
It could have been, maybe. I don't, because they did show the young ones on PBS here in Utah when I was young. So, but I don't know. I really don't know.
Utah. I didn't know Utah was as cool, Victor. I mean,
it really isn't, but there's little pockets. So anyway, that's my story.
Right on. How about you, Wayne?
2 weeks ago when you said we're doing a Motorhead show.
Oh yeah,
I started listening. I always heard the Ace of Spades song, on the radio or whatever. And then what was that movie where they did where they got a bunch of people together to do like songs together? It doesn't matter. But they did that song "Born to Raise Hell." Airheads. It was on
Airheads. Yeah.
Airheads. Wow.
I love that song.
Motorhead.
I know a lot of people
Phil
don't.
Crane and Ice-T.
Yeah. I think that song's really good. So that song really got me. But I still really never dove deep into Motorhead. One day my cousin, I guess he plays music too, he goes, why don't you come down, we'll play music together, maybe we'll play some Motorhead songs. And I pretended like I knew a lot of Motorhead songs, and I went down there, and it was a terrible practice because I didn't know any Motorhead songs. So after that, they started releasing all these expanded deluxe editions of the Motorhead album. So music store I was going to at the time, they had them all, so I started buying a few at a time, and until I just completed the whole collection. And so I've been a fan ever since. What was that, 2006? Yeah, 2006. So I've been listening to them ever since, and finding out how many great albums they actually have, because I always thought of Ace of Spades, but they got so many albums, and pretty much they're all pretty much good. They really don't have any bad albums. There's some crappy songs here and there, but all the albums are pretty good. So I've been a fan ever since.
Right on, Manny.
I discovered Motorhead through magazines. Matter of fact, I remember clearly. Do you guys remember Hit Parader? They had this one issue that they had an article on Motorhead, Slade. I can't remember who else. These bands I never really heard of. So a friend of mine goes, I have No Sleep Till Hammersmith. I'll sell it to you for $2. He stole it from his dad. I go, sold. I didn't eat lunch that day. I put it on, and the first song was Ace of Spades, which now you hear everywhere. And I loved it, and I became a fan. But like Ralph, it was hard to find those albums. I would find Ace of Spades. It wasn't until like a year later they released No Remorse. There was a store named Peaches. Ralph, you probably know that store. It's a Florida store. Yeah. And you'd have to go to the import section to find Motorhead albums, even though they really weren't import. That's where they had all the indies, Megaforce records, and all of that. So anyway, that's how I discovered him. So I've been a fan since 1983, which means I'm really fucking old. Anyway, that's how I discovered him.
All right, Tony.
I used to see them in magazines. I remember seeing them like in Hit Parader and or either Cream magazine. Maybe it was I think I first saw a picture with I guess it's from the Ace of Spades Iron Fist period, but they've got the the helmets, and they're all into spikes and stuff. It's that picture of the original, oh, not the original, but the classic 3-piece lineup. And I just remember seeing Kill by Death video being played on like radio 1990 on the USA Network.
Yep.
I remember seeing them do Ace of Spades on the Young Ones when MTV would show the Young Ones.
Yeah.
And some guy at school had No Remorse on cassette, and he let me borrow it, and ended up trading him something for it. And so that's the first one I had, and kind of just went from there. I think the next one I might have picked up was a Gasmatron, because that was the newest album at the time. And just kind of went from there, and just collected the stuff as over the years. And I think I've repurchased various Motorhead albums, 3 to 4 times. Even like you get it on CD once, and you got to go buy it again when the expanded version comes out, and go buy the vinyls and different ones. So just kind of grew over the years, and I've been lucky enough to see them several times. I've been lucky enough to actually meet Lemmy and talk with Lemmy a few times, and so that was really cool.
Another thing too is when Mickey D left King Diamond, and then I found out he went Motorhead. I'm like, all right, I really got to check out Motorhead now.
I remember he came in on March or Die, and I was like, Mickey D is the new drummer. Man, he's just too pretty to be in Motorhead.
Right. He just did not look like
too pretty to be in Motorhead.
He was very glammy. Like, he had the real long hair, and
he was blonde hair, and he was the only one.
Yeah, he just when he was in King Diamond, King Diamond had a very glammy looking band.
Back then,
yeah.
But as the years went by, Mickey D got ugly with Motorhead.
Yeah, yeah. It rubbed off on him. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I actually got to see them on that Metal Masters tour with Judas Priest and
oh yeah, that was great.
That was really cool. Yeah.
I saw Motorhead one time in Ybor City. When I was in college, we played at this kind of small place, and wasn't that packed. Again, it's like the Ramones. When people talk about the Ramones, people act like they played stadiums. No, they didn't. I saw the Ramones at a small club too. It's just kind of revisionist history in some ways,
Yeah. I didn't think I was ever going to get to see them there for a while, because my first chance to see Motorhead was do you guys remember in 91 they did the Operation Rock and Roll tour?
Yeah,
of course, with Alice.
Yeah, Alice and Judas Priest, Dangerous Toys, Metal Church, and Motorhead, and had tickets for it. They came to Raleigh, to the amphitheater in Raleigh, and the day of, we hear Motorhead's not playing. They're not doing the show. I don't know. I've heard that the tour wasn't doing well, and that they had to drop somebody, and I think Motorhead pulled off the show for that day, and they went to Wilmington, North Carolina, and played that night. They did their own show. But we didn't hear about this till we get to the show that day, so we didn't get to see Motorhead. Very disappointing. And still enjoyed the show, but was really disappointed that didn't get to see Motorhead. And then fast forward a few years, I think it was 1996 when they put out the album Sacrifice. By then they were on CMC International, which is actually was a North Carolina based label that got bought out later by Sanctuary. But they played in Raleigh at a big concert hall, and Belladonna opened, Joey Belladonna's band from Anthrax, and everybody's waiting, anticipating. Motorhead comes on stage, music kicks in, they walk out. Freaking some idiot threw a full beer can, and it sailed up, hit Lemmy right in the head. He turned around and walked off. I'm like, fuck, we're still not going to see Motorhead. He's going to leave. But this was like a scene from a movie, guys. It was like everybody turned and looked at the dumb guy that threw the beer. And it's like, it's almost like you could imagine him just standing alone in the crowd. Everybody's like, kill him. Lemmy comes back out and says, bring him around to the back door. I'm going to beat his ass. And he was a sport about it. Lemmy was a sport about it and played the show, so at least we got to see him finally. And then I got to see him, quite a few times after that over the years, because they did a lot of U.S. touring. I mean, they played a lot, and they're putting out albums every year, pretty much.
they came down here a lot. The Operation Rock and Roll tour, when it came here, Alice and Judas Priest played up in North Florida, where Motorhead, Dangerous Toys and Metal Church played the Button South. And that's the night I got to talk to Lemmy. The first night I met him, he was super cool. He had two groupies. This was so funny. I mean, two young groupies, and he's walking to the tour bus with these young groupies, and me and like two other friends are standing there, and I have my Motorhead stuff. So Lemmy stopped, and he's super nice talking to us, and like he kept talking to us like he wasn't like in a hurry. You'd figure to go in the bus with these three groupies until my friend Paul said to him, I love Zamco Pal. Season of the Witch rules. Zamco Pal was a band Lemmy was in the 60s. And they released an album called Season of the Witch. When he said that to Lemmy, Lemmy was like, all right, nice meeting you guys. It was like, I was like, oh, you fucked it up, man. It was like, yeah. He didn't want to talk about that. And Wurzel hurt me, man, with a handshake. Just a simple handshake. Wurzel like, I was like, God damn, man. It was awesome, man. Me, I met Filthy Animal that night and Phil Campbell, which Paul, the same idiot, says to Phil Campbell, how's your brother Vivian? Vivian Campbell.
Oh, God.
and Phil was like, oh, he's fine, like pretending that was his brother.
Probably wasn't even listening to him. You need to find better friends. One of my favorite Motorhead things that I have is a signed vinyl of what the hell's the name of this album?
The
World Is Yours.
Yeah, right on.
I got everybody's autograph on that. So.
That's badass.
Right.
That's really cool. As many times as I met Lemmy and stuff, I never asked him for an autograph. I mean, I worked at the label. I worked at Sanctuary, and just never. We had stuff autographed there that you have extra copies. I never got anything signed by him, except I had a Motorhead back patch, and he signed it he autographed it back patch on the Metal Masters tour. And after he passed away, I thought, I was like, man, I don't have anything autographed by Lemmy as much stuff as I could have gotten, and I was like, it's just on that back patch. So I actually retired the back patch and put it in a frame with some guitar picks that I had gotten from him. But I think the first time I met him was I went to this music conference in Los Angeles in 1997. It was the Foundations Forum, and we went to, me and my buddy, Ralph knows Mike Proctor. Yeah, me and Mike Proctor were there, and we're hanging out, and we went to the Rainbow, and of course Lemmy's there. He's sitting in that spot with the video game, and we talked to him, and he was telling me something about some movie soundtrack he'd been in this movie, and he was doing songs for the soundtrack, and it sounded like he said it was called Tromeo and Juliet. And I mean, it was really hard to understand him. You just like, if Lemmy's talking to you, you just kind of nod like you kind of know what he's saying, And turns out that was the name of the flick. It was a Troma film. I ended up finding it a couple of years later. It was a Troma movie, like Tromeo, like Tromeo and Juliet, and he's in the movie. He's in the film.
Right on.
Cameo. And then a couple of times just meeting him through the years. I remember once I went to the 930 Club in DC. And this girl I was dating, she was really good friends with the guys in Motorhead. So we went early and we went and set up on the bus with them for a little while. And Johnny D was there from Doro, and he and Mickey had played on the new Halloween record, Wayne, and he was playing the new Halloween record for Johnny and talking about, these two drummers just doing drum talk. Listen to what I did here and stuff. And Lemmy's just like, kind of walking around. He asked us if we want to drink and stuff and all. And we hung out with him after the show that night, and it's pretty wild. But yeah, always super cool. Very, very nice guy. I've seen shows. I saw him play a tour with Wasp once. They played up at Jack's in Virginia, and Motorhead, they were flip-flopping who opened and closed that night, each night. And Motorhead played first that evening. And after their set, Lemmy goes out and sits at the bar, and people are just buying him drinks while Wasp is playing.
Wow.
I mean, he was a rock star, but he wasn't, I mean, he was just really down to earth.
That's awesome. Another Troma movie he was in was Return of Nukem High.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
And my band is in the movie Thrasher Die.
Oh, right.
So
That's
I got a
right.
connection with Lemmy. I'm in a movie with him.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. He's in both of them. Return to Nukem High 1 and Return to Nukem High 2. Yeah, because Joey, what's his name? Kaufman, the guy that runs,
Boyd Kaufman.
his assistant saw my band. And after the show, he said to us, man, I really like you. I work for Troma Pictures. And I thought none of it. I gave him my email. Next thing you know, he's writing me, man, would you, contribute a song to the movie? I was like, are you kidding me, dude?
Oh, which one is it in?
It's in Return of Nukem High, both parts.
Okay.
We did 2 songs. We did a cover of Return of Nukem High from the guy that did the original version. Oh my God, dealing with that dude, you felt like he wrote Stairway to Heaven. It's like, dude, he was such a pain in the ass to deal with because he hated my version, and then but Kaufman loved it. And he had to sign some papers for it to be in the movie. And then that guy called me complaining that Kaufman was giving him a hard time because he wouldn't sign the papers for the song. And I'm kind of like, what does that have to do with me? Sign the papers or fuck off. He finally eventually signed the papers. But that guy that wrote that song, it's like, wow, dude. I mean, give me a break. But another thing a very weird thing about Motorhead and me was the show I was talking about with Blue Oyster Cult and Heart. That was the very first Motorhead show in America. And when I met Lemmy, I told him that. Lemmy, I was at your first show in America when you opened for, and he goes, I remember that show, but I was here before with Hawkwind. I was like, oh, okay, you're first.
Oh, okay.
And the last Motorhead show in America I saw as well was in Pompano Beach. That was the last show. Then they went to Europe and did some shows there. But the first and last American show with Lemmy and Motorhead were, I was at both of them, man. And yeah, it was rough, man. The last Motorhead show was pretty rough, man. He did it, but he looked so frail up there, man. It was sad.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah.
I saw one of his very last shows here in Salt Lake, here in Utah, and they only played 4 songs.
Wow.
He couldn't breathe because of
Wow.
the altitude.
Wow.
Yeah, they did. They opened with Damage Case. They played Stay Clean, Metropolis, and they ended, sadly, with Rosalie, the Thin Lizzy version of the song. But it was still amazing. And Saxon opened, and Saxon ended up playing more than a full set because Lemmy couldn't breathe, so they kept, I was right up front, and they just kept saying, like, keep playing, keep playing, keep playing. So they played I think Saxon played for an hour and a half as the opening band.
Wow.
And then Motorhead came
Wow.
out, and then in between each song, Lemmy would walk off, and he'd be gone for a while. And it was like, shit, this is not looking good. And like I said, I was right up front, right in front of Lemmy, and yeah, he looked really frail.
So he really, I mean, I've seen pictures, but the show you saw on the show, Ralph, you saw, I mean, he was visibly looking sick and frail, guys.
Yeah, I saw it too. He was. They did a full show, but and it was one of those situations. It was sad because I knew it'd be the last time. I know.
Yeah.
I didn't think he was going to just die so soon. But I said, okay, he can't keep touring. He can't keep doing this. He's got to just retire and take it easy. And it was sad. He looked. He really looked really frail there at the end. And I noticed something the other day. I was watching something. And I was watching that documentary about the rainbow, and they showed that they got the Lemmy statue in the rainbow now, and they made the statue look like the old frail Lemmy. I think they should have made the statue look more like 1980s Lemmy or something, or even 90s.
Well,
Well, he
maybe
didn't look
Lemmy's
bad
inside of
till
that thing. Maybe they
the
just
end of his
cast it on
life,
there.
I mean, the last.
Maybe his ashes are inside the statue. I'm sure they probably put something, probably. Because he sent his friends his ashes in bullets. They had these little bullets made with his ashes, and he sent them out to a lot of his close friends.
Yeah, that's right.
He was the real deal, man.
Yeah, fuck
yeah. It was. It's a question for you, all of you. I personally love the latter day Motorhead albums. I think they're overlooked. I'm talking about beyond the classic period. I'm even talking about Past Another Perfect Day. other than Rock and Roll album, which I still like, by the way. I think they released a series of great albums up to the very end that fans overlooked. Do you guys disagree with me?
I totally agree with you.
I agree with you. There's a lot of later Motorhead albums I put up there with the classics. I think they're just as good. I mean, a little more precise. They were a little more raw, but with Mickey D, it became like a well-oiled machine. Like, man, albums like Sacrifice and We Are Motorhead and Inferno. I mean, they're amazing. Amazing, amazing.
Production is freaking amazing on those. I don't know who produced those, but they're better produced than some of the classic albums, in my opinion. You know,
they're well
production
produced. My take on it is, and you'll see from my picks today, I pretty much went with all classic Motorhead stuff. That's just my favorite stuff. But I continued to buy every album up until the end, and the stuff that was during the 90s, after they did the major label record 1916 and stuff. I think it was Pete Scoley did those, and then when they went into Sacrifice and they were in the CMC Sanctuary years, they had a guy named Howard Benson produced them, and I really like a lot of the stuff on those albums. I mean, they had a lot of good stuff, and We Are Motorhead and Snakebite Love and Sacrifice. Of course, Sacrifice is probably my favorite of the lot. And but right after what was it? Right after, I think that's starting with Infernos, when that Cameron Webb was his name, came in. And those albums kind of get to be a blur to me. Those the production's really precise, and the songs are very interchangeable. I just kind of
agree with that.
Kind of got lost in the shuffle because it seemed like every couple of years there's a new Motorhead record, and it kind of sounded like the one before. But that's not a bad thing. I mean, they've always kind of sounded like themselves. It's like an AC/DC situation. But
I agree with your assessment of those last few albums, Tony, but I love them. Unfortunately,
really good stuff.
I didn't pick a song off them because, like you said, they're interchangeable. But when I throw them on, they're fucking fantastic, you know. But I kind of agree with you on that. But it's like you said with Mickey D there, it's like a freaking machine. That they were incredible.
More double bass than ever, you know.
Yeah. I don't know, Victor, what did you think?
I totally agree with you. Yeah, I'm right on board. In fact, that'll come up on my list, so I won't ruin it. But yeah, I think their last few albums, I agree that they do blend together sometimes, but yeah, the production quality is incredible. And well, I'll wait. I'll let you know more once I get. Okay. I have an album I got to talk about.
While we wait for Ralph to get out of the Vangina bathroom, Wayne.
I knew
it. He needs to change those doors.
Yeah, he does.
You need to reverse that.
So, what did you guys think of toward like the last 15, 20 years? Suddenly he was becoming an icon outside of the metal world. He was showing up on talk shows and documentaries, and he's becoming this. I mean, I'm talking specifically about Lemmy. I mean, I've seen lately action figures of him. That's not surprising, but what do you guys think of that? Compared to what we were, compared to when we were growing up, where they were more considered underground, to what they were becoming especially what they did become.
Well, it's weird. I'm kind of torn. I'll admit. I love the fact that they were an underground band. That's one of the reasons I love them so much. But at the same time, I think, God, like they deserved, especially because they got fucked over so many times by record companies. And Lemmy definitely deserved a little cash, a little extra credit, something. Mm-hmm. And he was still always down to earth. Like I remember watching an interview with him, and it might have been like 10 years ago, maybe 15, and he was still living in like some shitty little apartment, in Los
Angeles. Documentary.
I mean, it's like, shouldn't he be a multimillionaire? Like, shouldn't he have a mansion? It's like, so I get where you're coming from. They were such an interesting band too, with the fact that they're one of the only bands, at least at that time, especially in England, where the metalheads, the rivet heads, and the punks adored them. both, and we're both at the shows. And I think that, you know, it was such a, and sorry, I'm totally rambling now. I'm a little
No,
tipsy.
ramble. We like rambling.
But I mean, just they were just kind of this, they I don't know how they, for me especially, they were just kind of this pivotal, like they kind of brought everything together for me
Yeah,
musically.
they just appealed to every, if like you just mentioned, like the punk fans went to them. They just appealed to every genre, pretty much, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
People knew them. I mean, people knew the name. You know, I had some guy like I'd have on a shirt like this. I'm like, hey, and this guy was once he said, hey, Motorhead, I like them. Oh, Lenny. He called him Lenny. So he knew who Motorhead was. You know, he probably wouldn't know a song unless he probably may have heard Ace of Spades. And that's another one. Ace of Spades. Everyone knows that song. It's been in television product commercials and stuff now. You know, it's an iconic song for sure.
But I get where you're coming from, Manny. It is hard, especially when it's something you love so much, and it's like, oh, the sellout aspect of a band is sometimes hard to, especially like pop culture, and
right,
especially now, the culture we live in now, where everything is marketing, everything's a commodity. And it's tough to look at that, and somebody's making a shit ton of money off of Motorhead. It wasn't Lemmy, but somebody is. So
yeah, they got all kinds of booze out and all kinds of products out now.
My youngest child is 13, and he goes to school for kind of like performing arts. They don't call it that, but you know, the Florida equivalent of fame, so to speak.
I was going to say like fame.
yeah. But it's funny is he's in choir, and all the kids there, you know, they have, some of them don't know this music, but they have Motorhead, AC/DC, Ramones is very popular. And I'm not one of those guys that go name me 3 songs, but a lot of these kids actually like this. And some of them discovered it from their parents, some because of the use in video games and movies. It's like, it's amazing the exposure kids get to the kind of music that the rest of us, when we were young, had to go digging through God knows how many malls and garage sales or even mail order. Anyway, I like it. At the same time, I feel a little strange about it, I guess. But then I'm yelling kids to get off my lawn. So what do I know? So
I'm right there with you, brother. I totally get it. I remember thinking, and I don't mean to keep going on, but I recently watched it was Wacken, Motorhead at Wacken. I think it was 2008-ish, somewhere around there. And the crowd was like, yay. And I'm like, it's fucking Motorhead, you know, like, and now, yeah, like you said, I mean, there's products, there's toys there. I mean, I've got action figures hanging up on my wall behind me. I mean, yeah, but it's, you know, it's become a very, you know, a very commercialized, you know, commodity. But yeah, I get what you're saying. It's like there was a time when, yeah, it was, nobody gave a shit, you know, that weren't in the metal world or the hard rock world, at least.
Well, me and Wayne interviewed, there's nothing to do with Motorhead, but somebody's become an icon in death. Me and Wayne interviewed this guy, a writer who wrote a book on Bon Scott. When I was a kid, I never saw a t-shirt with Bon Scott, maybe Highway to Hell. Now there's a Bon Scott action figure, a Funko Pop, books written about him. Suddenly this guy, 40 something years after his passing, has become this icon that even Rolling Stone magazine praises. It just, to me, it's great because he deserves the recognition, but it's also a little strange, you know?
Yeah.
So.
You guys ever seen the movie Eat the Rich?
Yes.
Yeah.
Just to watch Lemmy sitting right next to Paul McCartney at a dinner table is worth the movie alone.
Yeah.
What a vision of Lemmy and Paul McCartney.
Yeah.
Two amazing.
Apparently, Mrs. B, I'm assuming that's Brenda. She says, Lemmy did a commercial for where he promoted milk. I didn't know that.
I did not.
Did not know that, Brenda. Right.
It does the body good.
You know he didn't drink it.
Well, maybe he drank the milk and that's what helped deteriorate his body. You guys ever thought about that?
It was mixed with Jack. It was mixed with Jack.
It's like he told a story once about he heard that Keith Richards had a blood transfusion and had all new blood, put into his body, and he said Lemmy asked his doctor about should he do that, and his doctor said no, I don't think you should. Fresh blood might kill you.
Well, the thing is, man, Lemmy lived the life he wanted to live.
Yeah.
It sucks he died, but it's the same thing with like Jerry Garcia and all these people. It's like, hey man, they want to live. Jerry Garcia ate like a motherfucker, and Lemmy drank liquor and smoked cartons of cigarettes every day. He lived like he wanted to, and he even said in an interview that this was before he was sick. He said, like, the way I live, I'm probably gonna not live to be that old. But you know what? I wouldn't want to live any other way.
Yeah.
So he lived the way he wanted to, and he died. But he would have died on stage if they would have kept touring. They just came back from a tour, and he died. I mean, the guy, Lemmy, should have died on stage because I think that's how he would have wanted to go.
Yeah.
And yeah, I miss him every day. Him and the Ramones. I'm a big Ramones guy. And to me, Motorhead and the Ramones are very much alike. They sound different, but they're alike. They're very much alike as far as attitude and rock and roll. That's, you don't tell Lemmy that shit was metal, because he's old school. Lemmy said in an interview he remembers before Elvis Presley. He remembers before there was rock and roll. He goes way back. He saw the Beatles in the Cavern Club before they even had a record deal. Roadie for Jimi Hendrix.
I was about to bring that story up.
I forgot about that.
Yeah.
Right,
so, there's a tour called Experience Hendrix they used to do before the pandemic. And Billy Cox used to tour. He played with Jimi Hendrix toward the end. So I asked him, because he was, I don't remember who he was. I think he was in the area. Nobody recognized him. They just thought he was an older black dude. And I go, that's Billy Cox, my friend. No, he isn't. So at the Isles of Wight, apparently that Lemmy was the roadie. And I heard this story that Jimmy told them to feed acid to the journalists, and they did. And that's also changes to record executives. But it turns out it's somewhat of a true story. Jimi Hendrix is jet lagged, and he was exhausted, and he was tired of the journalist. If you saw the film, it's giving him shit, the equipment. So Jimmy goes, why don't you dose him with something? Lemmy took him at his word, and he did apparently dose a journalist. And Billy Cox said, but Jimmy wasn't being serious. He didn't know this crazy English guy was going to do that. But anyway, that's the story. If it's true or not, I don't know. But Billy Cox claims it is, but he might have just been, telling me that because, it's some crazy hippie kid. I'll tell him what he wants to hear.
That's awesome.
You guys also into Hawkwind too? I never listened to Hawkwind, but do you guys have their albums?
Great band.
I do. I have a few of their
Great
albums.
fucking band.
I can't get into the space rock. I don't hate it, but it's not really my thing.
I've just got like an anthology disc. Few songs are pretty cool. I love that Master of the Universe song. That's a really cool song.
I like that. What was it? Silver Machine. I like that song.
Yeah,
is that the one Lemmy wrote?
Yeah, the one he sang. Yeah, I don't know if he.
Yeah, I thought so.
Yeah, he sings that. Yeah.
Motorhead was a Hawkwind song.
Yeah.
It was a Hawkwind beat song. But yeah. So before we get into our top, I just wanted to talk about this. Happened to me a couple months ago. Somebody asked me to do track by track of Something Against March or Die, Motorhead. And that's the one album. I was like, that's the one Motorhead album I just don't like. It's one of those albums that, it was record company pressure, trying to be a little more commercial with Cat Scratch Fever and stuff like that. I just felt like, I could accept 1916 because No Voices in the Sky rules. And so does I'm So Bad, I Don't Care. And what's the name? Sing the Blues. I think that's an awesome album. But March or Die didn't think that. So when I did this track by track, my God, Merchandise pretty damn good. The song Bad Religion, that shit's awesome.
That's a
Jack
great
the
song.
Ripper, You Better Run. It's, yeah, it's a stab at commercialism. And it's not, I would say it's not as good as the other Motorhead. But I think, man, Motorhead's Worst is a pretty kick ass album, man. It's back then when it came out, I just dismissed it and I haven't listened to it in decades. I was like, yeah, that's the one Motorhead album I can't get into. It's a damn fine album, man. Still didn't make my list, but still. All Motorhead's good. I love all Motorhead.
I agree. Hey,
All right.
guys, I have to go. I have to get my kid, but do you want me to just give you my top
Yeah.
5 before I go?
Yeah, go for it.
All right, I'll skip 10 to 6, but I'll give you my top 5. And honorary mention is a song called Rock and Roll off that album. That would honorate because kind of I have a friend who committed, not to put anyone, had a friend who died years ago. And before we'd leave the house, he'd always throw that song on. So whenever I hear that, I think of him. Number 5 is Killed by Death because that was the first music video I saw. 4 was Stay Clean because I love the version off of No Sleep to Hammersmith. 3 is Ace of Spades because it's the first Motorhead song I ever heard. 2 is Overkill. 1 is Rocket off my favorite Motorhead album, Another Perfect Day, because I think now I can't. Brian Robertson, is it am I saying his name right? Yeah. Underrated guitar player. That's a great fucking album, and I think it's my favorite Motorhead album. So anyway, so I have to jet. Next time I'll stay longer, gentlemen, but I got to get a kid. So
all right, Manny.
Actually, she's 22, but I still got to pick her up. All right, guys, take care.
Have a good one, Manny.
All right, thank you.
All right, Tony, why don't you give us your first 5?
First 5 songs. Okay, so like I said, this is pretty hard to do because there's so many great songs, and this could change on a daily basis. But I complied this one a day or two ago. Number 10, it's totally overplayed, but like I said earlier, it's an iconic track, and I got to put Ace of Spades on here, so I'm going to go to that for number 10 because it's just an incredible song. And so number 9, I'm going to go to the song "Eat the Rich." I dig that song. That's really cool. Love the music video for it. The lyrics are great. They even had a version of it on the Decline of the Western Civilization movie. There was a different version of it on there. Number 8, I'm going to go with Overkill. I mean, there's just nothing like it with that double bass drum intro. It's an amazing track. Number 7, from Ace of Spades, going to do "The Chase is Better Than the Catch." Just very clever lyrics from Lemmy on that one. And number 6, I'm going to go to 1916 for "I'm So Bad, Baby, I Don't Care." Great, just rock and roll, kind of Chuck Berry sounding song, but it's just great lyrics in that one as well. So that's first 5.
Right on. How about you, Victor?
Oh, okay. So I got 2 real quick honorable mentions. Just 2 songs I really love that were on the list, and then I moved them off. One is "On Your Feet and On Your Knees" from Bastards. Love that song. Just fast paced, pure adrenaline, classic, Motorhead style song. The other one is "God Was Never on Your Side" from Kiss of Death. I just love that song. It doesn't sound necessarily like Motorhead. It just kind of grabbed me when I first heard that back in 2006, I think was when that album came out. And just, I thought it was just a cool message, cool, fun song. Anyway, top my first 5. First one, number 10 is "Shine" from Another Perfect Day. I just love the culmination of
Wish you had the single.
Oh, there you go. Right on.
Great album, great cover.
Yeah. Oh, that's
badass.
Yeah, that's cool. Just a great culmination of talent there, which and I know that was it seems so weird now to think that album was so unpopular when it was released. And to hear it now and listening to it now and that kind of Thin Lizzy vibe from Robertson's guitar work, love it. Motorhead, the song Motorhead. always love that song. I mean, it's a classic. As we mentioned, obviously it was originally done by Hawkwind, with Lemmy, when he was just a wee lad. And then I also love the version on the on Parole, that early kind of demo. It's not a demo, but early version of it, kind of more rock and roll. And then of course what was original, what was finally released. Great stuff. Love that stuff. Metropolis from Overkill, another one of my favorite songs. That's number 8. And again, and as you mentioned, Tony, this was really hard. So as I was putting this list together, and no shade at you, Ralph, but I screamed like Captain Kirk, like Dr. Fuck, many times making this list. I was just, it was a fun challenge, but very frustrating, I have to admit. But anyway, Metropolis, number 8, great song. Love that song. Let's see. Number 7, I'm going by Killed by Death, which now I think about it, it should be further up my list, but it's number 7 for now, of course, from early album. And then number 6, I'm going with Orgasmatron. And I've always loved that song. In fact, I'd be remiss to say if I love the Sepultura version too. In fact, that might have been, no, I know I had heard the Motorhead version first, but I remember like hearing Sepultura because at that point was that 86 when that song came out. I was very heavy into thrash, so when I heard Sepultura do it, I'm like, whoa, this is yeah, I'm into this. And it kind of got me back into Motorhead. So anyway, those are my top 5.
All right, Wayne.
Number 10, Ace of Spades. Gotta put that on there because it's the first one I heard. Number 9, Stone Deaf Forever. I heard Metallica do a cover of that, a live version of it, and I really like their version, but I love the Motorhead one too. Number 8, Burner from Bastards. I love that, Tony. You mentioned the double bass, or somebody mentioned the double bass of all the newer Motorhead albums, and that song just kicks off with double bass. I think just double bass through the whole entire song. That's why I love it so much. Number 7, Shoot You in the Back, and number 6, Iron Fist.
All right. My top 10, and yes, it is tough. It's like
I've changed this list a few times.
Yeah, I changed it while we were doing the show, actually. Some honorable, and I just wrote these honorable mentions as we're doing the show. We Are Motorhead. That song, that's an honorable mention. Love the hell out of that one. I Know How to Die. It's a later Motorhead song that just fucking rules. Eagle Rock, which is not on none of their albums. It was a B-side for 1916. It's a ripping tune. And The Claw off of Orgasmatron. Those are my honorable mentions. All right, number 10, the song that ends Sacrifice, Out of the Sun. That song, I don't know if they've ever played it live, but my God, probably the coolest, other than Orgasmatron, the coolest Lemmy lyrics. It's just beyond killer. Number 9, Iron Horse. I love the first album version, but I'm going with No Sleep to Hammersmith with the awesome line, Ferociously Stoned. I love that. At number 8, Stay Out of Jail. That one's off of We Are Motorhead. It's just a fun, killer rockin' tune, and I absolutely love the middle section. If you hear what the band is doing under Phil Campbell's solo, that rocks, man. Hardcore. All right, number 7, Stay Clean. Stay Clean is that solo Lemmy does on it. Just a badass tune. And then at number 6, I'm going to go with Burner from Bastards. Rip, I'll never forget the first time I saw that video. This was after March or Die when I give up on that album. Then I heard this album, this song, and it's just a killer. What an album, that album. I mean, so much I left off, like On the Sword, and for Glory. I mean, that album just rips, except for Don't Tell Daddy to Kiss Me. That song is.
Yeah, a little creepy. A little creepy.
Yeah.
I always skip that one too.
Yeah, it's like why? But that's my first half.
Nice.
All right, give us your top five there, Tony.
You mentioned Bastards. I looked it up, and Bastards actually is getting ready. It's his 30th anniversary next week.
Jesus
wow.
Christ, we are old.
Yeah, we are old.
Speak for yourself.
Sorry.
I remember buying that new on cassette when it came out.
Yeah.
30 years.
Number five, I got to go Iron Fist, title track of that album. It's just that's a raging song, and I love the music video for that as well. Number four, I'm going to go to Another Perfect Day for Dancing on Your Grave. I think it's got a lot of melody in that song. I love what Robbo does with the guitar work on that one. It's a really catchy guitar solo. And number three, Orgasmatron, which might be one of the most menacing, if not it's got to be the most menacing song that Motorhead ever did. I mean, it's just there's nothing else like it. And when you see the clip of him playing it, I think it was on like some British TV show. They're doing it, and he looks like he's got zombie makeup or something on. They got the green light on him.
Yeah, I've seen that. Yeah.
That's so wicked. Number two, Killed by Death. Love that one. Just a killer song, killer music video. There's a 7-inch picture disc of that. The old picture disc I always like to turn yellow. That's why I don't collect picture discs very much. But I love that shot of the back of they got Wurzel crucified on the back. Yeah, pretty crazy. And there was a B-side on here called Under the Knife. And, a lot of you guys probably know there's like two versions of that song.
Well, yeah, it's two completely different songs.
Different versions, yeah. With the same title, yeah. And number one for me is Stay Clean. Love that song. I mean, who else has a bass solo in a song? Instead of the guitar solo, it's a bass solo. I mean, I think Venom did it on 1,000 Days of Sodom. They traded out, but man, this Stay Clean that's so cool. And I've seen a couple bands play it over the years, and the bass players try to do that solo, and it's pretty tough for them to pull off. Yeah, so that's going to be my number one, Stay Clean.
Right on. Okay, Victor.
All right. Number five, I'm going to do Damage Case. I always love that song, of course, off of Overkill. Just a killer song. And as I mentioned before, they opened without when I saw them the last time they ever played in Utah, which, yeah, I'm not too proud to say I almost cried when they opened with that song. I got a little choked up. So I always loved that song. I always thought it was a killer song. Number four, I'm going with Bomber. Of course, from Bomber, 1979. Another one of my favorite songs. And I even love the Girls' School cover. I thought they did a good job covering that on the Saint Valentine's Day Massacre EP. But yeah, I've always loved that song. I love the vibe of it. It just kind of grooves. I always thought it was just a killer song. Number three. Let's go to number three before I go to number two. Iron Fist. Again, one of the first Motorhead songs that I really fell in love with. Really kind of one of the first albums the first album I ever listened to all the way through was Iron Fist, and the song Iron Fist. I just loved it. Just like punch in the face. Like, yeah, this, just, the real deal. Number two, I'm going with Ace of Spades. I know it's overplayed, it's everywhere, but it was one of the first metal or just heavy songs I ever heard in my entire life, and it just has always stuck with me. And anytime I hear it, my head starts moving. I start bopping. And actually that song, and I think Lemmy might get a laugh out of this. That song itself, Ace of Spades, I am partially deaf in my right ear because of that song. I was with a bunch of buddies. Alcohol might have been involved. We were jamming. We jammed to Ace of Spades. I was on vocals, and I was standing in between the drums and the amps. And the next day I woke up and my ears were ringing, and this one didn't really ever go away. Anyway, I'm a bit of a damaged case. So Ace of Spades. And my number one song ever of Motorhead is Overkill. I adore that song. The drumming on that song just blows me away every time I listen to it. I love how it stops and starts back up again. I remember the first time I heard that, and I was a kid. It just kind of surprised me. I love that surprise. Like, whoa, it's starting again. It's not over. It's still going. I just love the heaviness of that song. And for me, that is the ultimate Motorhead song. And I love and I'm a big fan of the band Overkill, and I love the fact they took the name as well. So anyway, that's my top 5.
When you see them play it live, I think I've seen them drag that out for a good 15 minutes, just keep starting it over and over.
Yeah.
All right, Wayne.
Number 5, I'm So Bad, Baby, I Don't Care. Number 4, Overkill, just like Victor mentioned. That's another song I heard Metallica do live, and so is this one. Number 3, Damage Case. Metallica did those pretty good. And number 2, Orgasmatron, and like Victor mentioned before, I heard the Sepultura version actually first, and I really love that version. And so I just heard the Motorhead version. I love that one too. And number 1 is Shine for me, because the place where I got all these double CDs from, every time, I don't know, I don't think it was a coincidence. They just had the radio on, and it just happened to be on every single time I walked into that store. So every time I hear Shine, it brings me back memories to buying these albums and going to that record shop.
Nice.
Right on. All right. My number 5, Kill by Death. If you squeeze my lizard, I'll put my snake on you is one of the greatest opening lines to any song.
Yeah.
Just love the hell out of that one. At number 4, Back at the Funny Farm. That song just rips. And I love when he says, I really love this jacket, but the sleeves are much too long. That shit's so cool.
Yeah.
Number 3, man, it should be higher, man. We Are the Road.
Yeah,
damn, what a song, man. Just the driving nature of it, the pounding and the fast lyrics. It's just, there were speed freaks. They took a lot of speed, and you can hear it in that song a lot. Number 2, and this was tough between number 1 and number 2. Really tough. I wanted to put Overkill at number 1, but I couldn't. At the end, I was like, no, my number 1 is my number 1, but Overkill is my number 2. Just the relentlessness of it. Filthy Taylor changing the game of drumming with the double bass constantly. Amazing. Number 1, hands down, I was like, man, I like it more than Overkill. And that is Iron Fist. My all-time favorite Motorhead song. Yeah, the video, the album. They hate the album. I love that freaking album, man. I bought the box set. They released a expanded edition of it.
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
I had to get it. Did they release an expanded edition of Another Perfect Day?
I don't think so. I know they did Ace of Spades.
Yeah, I got that one as well. But yeah, so that's it. That's my top 10, man. So
yeah, and Filthy, he was a really good drummer. But if I listen closely, he's very sloppy. But it fit with the music of Motorhead, But just listen to it. I'm like, listen to like
gave it that punk
yeah,
element about
exactly.
it.
But I listened to like the double bass. I'm like, oh my god, the hell's he doing? But it's good. It fits with the music. So
he had the coolest double bass drums with the
yeah.
sharp basses on the front.
Yeah.
It's the attitude in the playing that I kind of.
That's all it is. Yeah.
Because Mickey D's awesome, but he's technically proficient.
Oh, he's perfect. Yeah.
Where Filthy Animal was more of a human nature drummer.
Yeah.
It was no frills, no nothing. It was just raw talent.
Pete Gill wasn't a bad drummer. He's just a good rock and roll drummer,
I thought he was awesome on No Remorse.
Yeah. And I mean, he's on a Gasmatron as well. Yeah, did a great job.
The drumming on Claw and Nothing Up My Sleeve. No, Pete Gill was awesome.
Mhm.
Yep. And but that's it, guys. This was fun. Now next week it's gonna be Thanksgiving, but if all goes as planned, Tony and I, maybe Wayne. Wayne, will you be here?
I probably won't be. We'll
Oh,
probably
you
be
won't.
just eating turkey about time. No,
Yeah.
we'll see what happens.
We're going to talk about our favorite Thanksgiving foods.
Yeah.
Top 10 side dishes.
Top 10 side dishes. That's it.
Yeah. Because Tony and I are having family Thanksgiving early in the day, so we'll be free at night.
What is
So-
the topic? What is the topic going to be? Or is that going to be a surprise?
We'll figure it out.
You
Yeah,
figure it out.
we don't know.
You don't know. Okay. All right.
So sorry. Are we doing albums?
I don't know.
Yeah, I thought,
Time?
I thought we were going to do a top 5 album, Motorhead albums tonight.
Well, I thought we were going to do the top 10
yeah,
songs and
yeah,
the top
yeah.
5 songs.
I wrote 10 of them, but I'll give you my top 5. But go ahead first, Tony.
Top 5 albums. Okay. Gonna go with 1916 for number 5. That's kind of tied with Bastards, but I got to go 1916 over it. I mean, it's a solid record. It was on a commercial side, but it's so many good songs on here. The one to sing the blues, I'm so bad, baby, I don't care. Like Ralph said, No Voices in the Sky is one of the best ones. Love going to Brazil. That's just a good rock and roll track. I mean, even the song, they got a song here about the Ramones. I mean, that's awesome.
Which by the way, the Ramones did a crappy version of it. Did you hear the Ramones cover Motorhead? Oh man, it's horrible.
Even got a couple of weird CD singles from that album.
I got that one. The one you first
Almost 1916. And
I have a Lemmy sign for me.
Yeah, and Live from Angel City and other cities.
Isn't almost 16? Isn't Eagle Rock on that one? I think it is. No.
Which one's now?
It's almost 1916. I know it has an interview, but isn't Eagle Rock on there?
No. Mm-mm.
Oh yeah, it was a little cardboard single I got.
I've been, yeah, but even the title track 1916. I mean, it's such a deep track. I mean, it's just Lemmy, and he's pretty much. I mean, he's talking about from the viewpoint of a soldier in World War One and what he's seeing and what he's experiencing. It's just really, really good, like epic track from Lemmy.
It's extremely moving. And
yes, very much.
It's not Motorhead music. It's like, what is that? Playing like
it's almost like it's like you'd see in a soundtrack to a war film or
kind of like there's parts of the Pink Floyd The Wall that sound like that song.
Yeah, exactly. Number 4, gonna go with Overkill. Great album, and so many good songs on this one. I mean, I love the title track. Of course, I said "Stay Clean's" my favorite song. I mean, Capricorn's a cool track. That one always had a little spacey vibe to it, kind of like some Hawkwind or something. No Class is on here. Damage Case, Metropolis. So many good songs on here. I think what does he say at the beginning of I Won't Pay the Price? Like I'm so drunk, pretty cool. Yeah. Number 3 is going to be Ace of Spades. So many good ones on this. Most iconic one. It's a great album cover as well. I love that story where Scott Ian tells about he saw this album and he says, "Who are these Mexicans and how can they play this fast?" Yeah, Ace of Spades on here. Love Me Like a Reptile, Shoot You in the Back. I mean, we've got
the whole album is just
love. We Are the Road Crew. I mean, that is a good tribute to roadies, the guys that make the job, keep it rolling, get the job done. Jailbait's on here. I mean, Bite the Bullet, Chase is Better Than the Catch. Another one of my favorites by him. Number 2 is going to be Another Perfect Day, which when I first got No Remorse, 2 of my favorite tracks on there was Shine and Dance on Your Grave. And like I said, they're a little more melodic sounding. And I didn't realize how much hate this record got, when it came out. But over the years, people just seem to love it. I saw Motorhead once with Matt Sorum filling in on drums. and they did, I think, 3 or 4 songs from this album because it was like Matt Soru's favorite album. So they did several tracks off of it. But yeah, so many good ones on here. Like you said, Back at the Funny Farm. Love the lyrics on that one. Shine, Dance on Your Graves on here, of course, and Rocket, One Track Mind's another one. Have you guys ever seen the there's a Motorhead DVD with all these promo videos, and they've got several videos. They got One Track Mind of them just playing live and doing it.
I got Mine, Shine, and I think another one. I remember back in the day, Night Flight showed One Track Mind, but I never saw the other videos.
Yeah, Night Flight was the only place you ever saw any like Motorhead videos. The only time you saw, Killed by Death was when like they would do the Dee Snider show that he had with the pre-Headbangers Ball. They showed it, but Night Flight was always showing more the heavier and more punky and cutting edge type, hard rock videos. The MTV, I guess, wouldn't pass their censors. But my number one album, even though it's a compilation, is No Remorse, because it's my first album by them. And there's 4 new tracks on here. There's several tracks on here that were 12-inch, 7-inch, type songs that weren't on full-length albums, and several live tracks that weren't on other albums. It's different live versions, but it's the best of. But it's got some really cool stuff on. I mean, I love their version of Girl School Emergency, which they was on the St. Valentine's Day Massacre originally, and Please Don't Touch is another one they did with Girl School. But yeah, this is the album. When people say what album would you recommend for someone to get into Motorhead, I say you got to get No Remorse for sure. Snaggletooth is badass. Yep.
He killed, man. I gotta also say, man, One Track Mind is another honorable mention. What a song!
Yeah, love that one. Yeah.
That song is just like a big tank rolling in your house. All right, Victor.
My honorable mention song would be Beer Drinkers and Hellraisers. Their ZZ Top cover. Right. I love their version of that.
Yeah, that's
awesome.
Nice.
All right, Victor.
So my top 5 are all studio albums, but I have to say, like, No Sleep Till Hammersmith is one of my all-time favorite albums of any band. So that I have to say is an honorable mention, only because I decided to just do studio albums. It would be my number 1, but I'm doing studio albums. So there you go. Number 5 is On Parole, the 2020 version that has all the expanded stuff. I really love, I love that early vibe of that. I love Larry Wallace's guitar work, and especially like on Iron Horse, which almost sounds like a Buffalo Springfield song. His guitar work sounds like, like Neil on that. It's crazy. But yeah, I love that album, and the drumming by Lucas Fox is amazing. But and it transitions, of course, to Filthy Animal on that album. But I don't know, just that one, and it took me a while to get into that, but once I got into it, I really love it. Just because I think it's the epitome of what Lemmy always said, like, we're a rock and roll band, and that is a rock and roll album. So love that album. Number 4 is Another Perfect Day. I think it's brilliant. And as we've all said, I think it's, it was at the time, it was very underlooked, very, very underappreciated. I think it's become very popular, or much more popular now. But at the time, it just, for some reason, it did not fit well with the fans, maybe because of Robo, I don't know. But it was that was always a weird thing, because I think that album is brilliant. I love the sound on it. It's very melodic, especially for Motorhead, but it still has that crunch. Yeah, great album. Number 3, I'm gonna go with a modern album. So too bad Manny dropped. I'm gonna go. It's funny because none of my favorite songs are necessarily on this album, but I think as an album, it's just perfect. And that's Inferno. I think that's, if not their heaviest album, it's one of their heaviest albums ever. And I would argue, I know Lemmy might not like that, but that is a metal album. That album is fucking metal. It's heavy as shit. So love that album. Number 2, and I'm going to cheat here, I have a tie between Bomber and Ace of Spades. I couldn't differentiate. I couldn't do it. So those 2 albums, I just adore both those albums so much. So they're my number 2, and my number 1, which you may have noticed because of my top 10 list, The majority of the songs, or many of the songs, were from Overkill. Overkill is my favorite Motorhead album. That's all I got to say. So,
Right on.
Cool.
How about you, Wayne?
All right, I'm gonna go quick on this one. Another Perfect Day. All right, it's my number 5. Iron Fist. I'm keeping these all classic, by the way. Rock and Roll, Overkill, and the best Motorhead album, Ace of Spades.
All right. I did a top 10, so I'll run real quick from 5 to 10 to 5. Bastards, I'm sorry, Bomber, We Are Motorhead, Rock and Roll, Orgasmatron, and Iron Fist are on my bottom of the top 5. Now, these are my top 5. At number 5, Bastard. Absolutely love that album. Return of Form, badass. Number 4, Ace of Spades. Too many classics. The Hammer, man. The Hammer.
I don't think there's a bad song on that album. I don't think there really is a bad song on there, is there?
Dance is a great deep track on there.
Yeah.
Number 3, Sacrifice. I thought that was probably my favorite of the later stuff. I just thought, and that video for Sacrifice is godly.
Mm-hmm.
Probably my favorite. That and Killed by Death are my 2 favorite Motorhead videos. Number 2, Another Perfect Day. I just love the hell. And I remember when that album was new, and I remember the backlash. The first time I ever heard anything from that album was a radio show down here. They were just giving, it was like one of these shows that, we're going to spotlight brand new releases this week. And Another Perfect Day was one of the releases, and the song they picked to play was I Got Mine. And man, me hearing that for the first time, I loved it. But at the same time, I was like, this doesn't sound like Motorhead.
Nothing at all. Yeah. To be the first song you heard, too, that one's really melodic. The opening guitar licks. Yeah.
Yeah. But I still ran out and bought the album. But yeah, that song was like, and then I saw One Track Mind on Night Flight, and I was like, so yeah, I ran out, and I was into Another Perfect Day when everybody was hating on it. When it was new, I was like, I love this new Motorhead album. And yeah, now as years have gone by, I've seen many people put that all the way to the top.
Yeah.
My friend Sean has the album cover tattooed on his back.
Oh wow.
And we, all 4 of us, picked that album. So what does that tell you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you know? Did you notice the thing coming out of the mouth of Another Perfect Day? The album cover?
No, what?
It's a dick.
Is it really? I never really noticed that.
All right, let's go look here. I got it here.
I know it is on Sacrifice.
No, Sacrifice has.
And the vagina. Yeah.
No, yeah, Sacrifice has a dick too. I think that one's a dog dick.
It's a forked tongue.
Yeah, that's not.
Oh, it's supposed to be 2 dog dicks. Seriously, look at that. That's 2 dog dicks.
It's like a forked tongue to me.
And Sacrifice has just 1 dick coming out. That one is very easy to tell. But anyway, there you go, man. Thank you. Any closing words on Motorhead?
Buy Motorhead albums. Buy them all.
Yeah. Listen to Motorhead.
Support them all. And Victor, I was on your podcast, man. Plug your podcast.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Yeah. Check out my page, Brews and Tunes. Ralph was on my very recent interview with Ralph. It was amazing. It was incredible. We talked about Thrash or Die and some other shit. It was great. One of my favorite interviews, actually. I had a blast chatting with you. And check it out.
Yeah, I had a lot of fun doing it, man. I really appreciate you having me on. And Wayne, you got stuff to plug.
Oh my God, yes, I have a really cool interview, and one that I've been waiting to do for a very long time. Next Wednesday, probably around 11 o'clock a.m. in the morning, because this guy's over in Germany. Roland Grappow from Halloween and Master Plan will be on.
Oh, nice.
So that'll be really fun.
I dig Master Plan. That was a good band.
Yeah, and they're re-releasing the first album. And so we're going to talk about that, and we'll talk about some Halloween stuff as well. And then I just started doing a radio show on freeworld.fm. It's mostly like a talk radio thing, but at 10 o'clock p.m. Eastern, I am on there playing rock and metal till 12 o'clock midnight. So come and join me on there. Freeworld.fm.
Can I say something real quick? I don't want to
No,
get
we gotta go.
anybody in trouble, but Wayne,
What?
I won't mention too much here, but I've heard drumming that you're doing currently for a project that's coming out this next year, and it is incredible.
Oh, they sent you that. Okay, cool.
Yeah. So I won't go, but yeah, keep an eye out for
They
what
know
we're
it's the
doing.
band Absalon. So go
Yeah,
look up
it's
Absalon.
Oh,
amazing.
I was
It's
saying I
amazing.
didn't know the Backstreet Boys had a new album coming out.
Yeah, he's working on Sammy's next album.
Oh,
But no, yeah, the Absalon stuff I've heard is mind-blowingly good.
It's been a lot of fun. It's we're working on actually just finished another one today, so I got to hear that after this. But it's been a lot of fun. Yeah,
very cool.
Well, right on, everybody. Tony, thank you. I'll see you next week, Tony.
yeah.
And hopefully I'll see you, Wayne.
yeah. We'll see.
But,
I might be half asleep by then.
all right.
We'll see.
But
Depends on how much turkey I eat.
Either way, we're going to come up with a kick-ass subject for next Thursday on Almost Human Live. And we had a lot of people watching us, Wayne.
Yes, we did. Almost 60 people, I believe. Yeah.
Right on, man. So Victor,
and somebody did mention in the chat. Oh, sorry, I didn't want to cut you off, but they want us to do another Q&A show because they love those things. So
maybe that's what we'll do next week.
That might be a good idea.
Yeah, but if you're not here, it won't work.
That's true.
Yeah.
So I'll try. I'll try my best.
Maybe we won't. All right. So
if you show up drunk, Wayne, we won't care.
I don't drink, so that won't happen.
If you show up full of food,
drunk on cranberry sauce, right?
Yeah. Drunk on cranberry sauce.
So thank you again, Victor, Wayne, and Tony.
Thank you, Ralph. Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Of course
Awesome.
I'm gonna have
you guys.
Of course I gotta have you, Wayne. You're the VIP, bro.
It's my show, so
you are the bee's knees of Almost Human Live.
That's right. And thank you everybody for watching the show. We appreciate it.
Thank you, everybody. And also check out Rat Salad Review and Severed Angel. Got a CD out.
Yes, we do. New one coming next year. Skyward coming out very soon.
Oh yeah.
Right on. All right, everybody. Have a great night. See you Thanksgiving. Smack 'em a gob.
Gobble gobble.
All right, dudes.
See ya.